Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the In the Saddle podcast. We're trying something a little bit different tonight. You might be able to see our faces if you're watching us on YouTube. But for this week's podcast, we are going to be previewing the ITV action at Ascot, Haydock, and also as well, we'll be taking in the Kingwell Hurdle at Wincanton. Before we get into the racing, though, let's see how everyone is. Katie, Liz, how are things with you? Have you recovered from the Dublin Racing Festival?
Yes. No, well, no.
I have.
I came home pretty poorly from there, and it wasn't just a very long hangover for anyone wanting to make a comment. I actually came out of it with a chest infection, so I've been on antibiotics for a while. Knocked me out for about a week, but I'm a lot better now, so that's the main thing. But we had obviously me and Katie went together over to Leopardstown, had an absolute whale of a time. And yeah, the racing was pretty good too.
Yeah, we had an eventful time, that's for sure. No, it was good. It was very good. Like, it was nice to see Galloping de Champs State, man. A lot of the novice hurdlers, novice chasers. It was really good. And Dublin's always a nice place to visit. So, no, we did have a great time, didn't we?
We did.
Watched the rugby in Ireland. The Irish were playing. So it was good.
Yeah, we were planning our next trip of where that might be.
Yeah, probably the Galway Festival, won't it? Go back again.
That's got to be on the list again. That was great fun last year. That's a must visit, I think.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
Try and get there before then, though.
Maybe
Fairy House, Punchestown, yeah.
I still need to go to Ireland. It's still on my bucket list, but I recently got engaged, so maybe we might have my stag in Ireland. Who knows? Maybe we'll go to an Irish race meeting or something. That would definitely be a bit of fun. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get into the racing. And the first race we're going to look at on the podcast this week is the 150 at Ascot. It's the Sodexo Live Reynoldstown Novices Chase. It's a Grade 2, and Apple Away is your favourite at 6-4. We've then got Kilbeg King next in the betting at 3-1, Brave Kingdom 4-1, Henry's Friend 8, and the outsider of the race is the King of Ryhope at 25-1. Liz, I'll come to you here first. Apple Away, got a bit of a big reputation, hasn't she? But I think she would need to improve again to take this. Do you think she's the one they've all got to beat?
I think so. Obviously, there's only 5 runners, and she was seen last month. Obviously, second behind Grey Dawning. Big Grey Dawning fan, I've decided. At Warwick by 14 lengths. Grey Dawning, obviously, really impressive that day. I think Apple Away may find the challenge coming from Brave Kingdom, who's looking for a 4-timer. However, I think with Apple Away's experience in the higher grade, she's not particularly ever run a bad race in her chasing career, preferring to keep up with the pace. I think the ground will suit, and I do actually think she'll be hard to beat here.
It looks like it's a bit of an ambitious plan by Lucinda Russell. Katie, are you in agreement with Apple Away, or do you think she could be vulnerable?
I think she's probably the one to beat. She's been running well behind Grey Dawning, and at Haydock, she didn't jump badly. I just expected a bit more from her, especially looking back on her hurdling form. Like the win at Safton at Aintree, it's worked out very well. And Maximilian was in second that day. He'd previously won the River Don. Unfortunately, he's out injured this season, but I think he would have made a real marker on the novice chase division. Iroka was in third, Stay Away Faye in fourth. There were some good horses down the field as well there. I kind of expected more from her. And, at Leicester, she was able to win well. But I think making your mind up, who has franked the form since, he probably maybe exerted himself a bit too much trying to make all on heavy ground that day. And he finished very tired. And I think everything kind of played into Apple Away's hands there. I think she's the one to beat, but I think she's short enough. I'd probably rather take her on. I think Brave Kingdom has got a good chance. That form when he had to outbattle Theatre Man before pulling clear from him. The form's been franked with Theatre Man then finishing second to Ginny's Destiny at Cheltenham. I think probably going to have to find a little bit more here to beat Apple Away. But I'd say he would be a danger. The one I've come down on is Kilbeg King, though. I think that third behind Illis Francais and Hermes Hélène in the Quarter of Star Novices Chase at Kempton was a really good form. He was the last of the challengers off the bridle, really travelling strongly, coming around that home turn and jumped well overall too. And he had the option of running in the handicap on this card, but Connections have opted to send him here to go for Grade 2 Glory. So I think he's probably the one that I'd side with at the prices at least. But I do think he has to improve a little bit more, maybe to beat Appleway if she is at her best.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Katie. I thought Kilbeg King had a really good chance. He's probably one of my strongest fancies this weekend. As you say, he was a real big eye catcher, I thought, at Kempton in the Quarter Star. Probably at a track that wouldn't suit him as well. So I do think the stiffer nature of Ascot will play to his strengths. And it's interesting as well, he's got an entry in the National Hunt Chase. He's run about 14-1 for the race at the moment. And Anthony Honeyball went the same way a few years ago with a horse called Miss Parfois, if I can pronounce her. I really fancied her in the National Hunt Chase. She finished second in the Reynoldstown before going on to the National Hunt Chase. She just got chinned by Rafa Vinden, you might remember, going back in 2018. And I just think he could take a similar route with Kilbeg King here. Could get someone maybe like Will Biddick to ride on the day. But I think, I'm hoping for a good run from him. And I just think Ascot would be more up his street. And 3-1, I'll probably side with him. So I'm going to be crossing my fingers and toes that Kilbeg King can get the job, because I was saying to Katie earlier, I do fancy him to run a big race in the National Hunt Chase, but we'll probably talk more about that on Cheltenham podcasts coming up. Anyway, so we're going to move on to the next race, which is the 225, which is the Thoroughbred Industry Employee Awards Handicap Hurdle at Ascot. Rare Edition is your favourite, 11-2. Bad at 7-1. Monvoyelle at 8. Rambo T at 8. Irish Hill at 9. Teddy Blue 11s. Highland 12s. And bigger are the rest. Katie, I know we were talking earlier today about Rare Edition, a horse that you quite like. Do you think he's going to get another win under his belt here?
Yeah, I really fancy him for this race. It was a good win for him at Kempton. He stayed on well, pulled clear of the field. Fransham was rallying late on there, but I think Rare Edition had plenty left in the tank, and he was giving £18 away to the second and third there. He's now £3 up to a mark of 139. I think that's still fairly lenient. He started life really well over hurdles. He was 3 from 3 before he stepped into listed company and was beaten by Marble Sands, but that horse went on to finish a decent 5th in the Ballymore and then finished 6th in the Sefton, which is fairly decent form. He then went to the Supreme at the top novices chase at Aintree. He didn't feature really in either. He just couldn't mount a challenge, but he was up against some high-class opposition, and I think you forgive him that race. He probably just isn't up to that level. But off a mark of 139 here, if you consider the fact that he beat Rubod by 7 lengths last season, and Rubod is now on a mark of 149, because he went to the Dovecote at Kempton and then the Scottish Champion Hurdle at Ayr instead of the races that Rare Edition went to. I don't think that Rare Edition has really had that chance to be higher rated than he currently is. So I think he could be well in off this mark, and I really, really fancy him. And I backed him anti-post for this race at 8-1, and I think he's now, is it 11-2 or so? The best price at 11-2. I think he'll shorten even further. I think he's got a really good chance.
Yeah, I can definitely see he's one of those horses that punters will probably want to be siding with. Are you in agreement, Liz?
Well, there's a bit of a mystery for me, to be quite honest, and it's quite a big field. And Dan Skelton's Lemilos is an interesting contender off of top weight. Second time back over hurdles after chasing last season, and also takes quite a big step back down in trip. He actually came 10th in the Grand National. So to turn up hurdling and only over 2 mile 3 just caught my eye a little bit at a bigger price. Irish Hill hasn't won since last February, and I just think his mark could be quite handy now. Now lower for his second to Rambo T in December. Irish Hill that day carried £4 more, and now with Freddie Gingell on board claiming 5, it'll be £12 lower. So I think the tables could definitely take a turn there, and that is what I'm probably expecting to happen. So the beautiful grey, that is Irish Hill.
And Irish Hill won this last year, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And he beat
Zoffy Bay.
Zoffany Bay.
Oh, yours, Zoffany Bay.
Beat Zoffany Bay.
Yeah, well, me and Liz are going to be committing daylight robbery on you, Katie, because we know that you like Irish Hill. I know
I
you've
do.
backed it many times, and I'm in agreement with Liz here. I just think that mark now is very standout. 125, Freddie Gingell as well, claiming a handy £5. I think the ground is quite key to him. I'm hoping that they're not going to get too much rain at Ascot. I think they should be okay. And if it does continue to dry out, I just think he's a bit of a big price here, and I can only see him going well. So for me, I'm going to join Liz and go with Irish Hill. It seems like I'm copying the girls tonight, just covering both bases. I don't want to put their noses out the joint, but yeah, I think he's got a really good chance, Irish Hill. So that's our thoughts then on the 225. We then move on to the Injured Jockeys Fund Ambassadors Programme Swinley Chase. Victoriano is your favourite 7-2 for Venetia Williams. We then got 3 under 3-5 at 4-1. Ironbridge at 5, Shamblu 7s, Ruggles Hill 17-2, Do Your Job 11s, Larry, one of my old favourite 12s, and bigger are the rest. Liz, I'll come to you here first. I thought this was probably the trickiest race we were dealing with on the podcast tonight. I don't know if you thought the same.
Yeah, it is a tricky one. I see Ironbridge has also got an entry in at the 3:15 at Haydock as well, so maybe he might not turn up. But 3 under 3-5 keeps hitting the woodwork. Last 2 races he's finished second. Last time to Broadway Boy at Cheltenham, he just seemed to hang left a bit under pressure. He was only beaten 1 1/4 lengths, so not a million miles away. Victorino didn't show up at all last time out last month. Didn't really seem that interested. And there was no explanation as to why he ran so poorly. So perhaps he was just having an off day. He's got 100% strike rate at Ascot. He's run 2-1-2. He's 1 on good and he's 1 on soft. So I think you can forgive his Cheltenham run. And with a bit more fluency on the way he jumps, I think that he will be the likely winner. But maybe a squeak also for Shamblu, who ran well in December at Ascot, 3rd by just 3/4 of a length after twice showing nothing this season. He's been pulled up twice. He was all the rage a few years ago, just hasn't found his rhythm since. So maybe he could surprise at slightly bigger odds.
Yeah, that was the way I was thinking. Shamblu seems like I'm copying you again. I just think he's come down to a good mark now. 1-4-3 was a bit of an eye catcher last time out. Ascot behind Triple Trade, and that form has worked out all right actually, because Harper's Brook finally got his head in front a couple of weeks ago at Sandown. And even if you go back to his run a couple of years ago when he was in a handicap at Aintree, he was finishing second behind Sam Brown. Okay, he was well beaten, but he's still £5 lower than that mark. And I just think there is probably one more day to come from him. And I just think he could be it. And Skelton's yard, even though they were a bit quiet in the last week or so, the last few days, they have been having a few more winners. So I do think Shamblu, I think at 7-1, I think he's a good each way bet there. Do we think Shamblu could bounce back and get his head in front here, Katie?
No, I don't. He could, maybe, but I'm not siding with him. I think Victorino will improve for being back at Ascot and back up in trip as well. He was running over 2.5 at Cheltenham. Maybe it didn't suit him. I think you probably expect him to run a bit better than he did. But I think we could see him improve this time. The yard are a bit quiet though, and that would be a slight worry for me. 3 under 3-5. I love this horse, but I don't think he can win off on 5-2. I think the handicap mark is stiff enough, and it's just a shame in a way that he keeps running well. He's so consistent. His mark never goes down low enough for him to actually get his head in front. He always seems to bump into one that's better handicapped than him. Rebels Hill has never won first time out. I think he could possibly improve for the run, although he'll probably be there or thereabouts. I really have a strong fancy in this one, and it's the outside of the field. It's Rapper at 25-1. He's actually been supported today a little bit. He was 40s this morning. He runs really well at this time of year, and this better ground at Ascot will suit him. I don't think there's too much rain about, so hopefully it's good to soft, not much worse than that. But if you look at his form, his last 4 runs, he's been pulled up 3 times, and that's not the best stat that you want, but all of those runs have been on soft ground, and maybe he's had some other excuses as well. He was withdrawn twice in December on heavy ground, and I just think that this time of year it really suits him. Before this season, he had a 50% strike rate around the winter months, and with that in mind, and the fact that Henry Daly won this race 2 years ago with Fortescue, he just really stands out to me. He's off his last winning mark of 1:37 as well when he won at Cheltenham last year. I think he's a massive each way player in this, and he's actually one of my stronger fancies of the day.
Fair enough. Yeah, I can see your argument for him on some of his old form. You'd probably be pleased to see that Henry Daly actually had a big price winner today, Brittany at Sandown. That went off 16-1. So
hopefully he'll have another on Saturday.
Yeah, maybe the yard coming into a little bit of form, big price. Yeah, why not? Rapper is for Katie. We're now going to move on to the feature race at Ascot for the weird time. That's the 3:36. It's the Betfair Ascot Chase.
You don't like that, do you, Liz?
No, I feel allergic to it. It's like dog racing, isn't it? Dog racing at always really random times. But I don't understand in like all the other races start at either on the hour or they have a whole number at the end. Why they have to do 3:36? Why not 3:35? Anyway, that's the weirdest gripe I've ever got about racing.
Yeah, let's get on. We know who's running, so the listeners know who's running before we get our teeth stuck into it. So we've only got the 4 runners, but an intriguing little puzzle. L'Homme Pressé is your favourite. Odds on at 8-11. We then got Pic Dorian at 9-4, Ahoy Senor 11-2, and Sail Away the Outsider at 50-1. Katie, I didn't fancy L'Homme Pressé here. I just thought he might bounce after that run at Lingfield last time out, and I'm a little bit concerned about him going this way round, even though he has won over course and distance. I didn't think it was no gimme for him.
I think he's the one to beat, and I think he will run really well. But there's one in here that I kind of feel like I have to stick with, rather than being so keen to take L'Homme Pressé on. I'm just really hoping that another horse wins, and that's Ahoy Senor. Because I thought he ran really well in the Cotswold Chase when he finished 4th. It was a much better jumping performance from him. He's never going to be a horse that's foot perfect over his fences, but he can often make a mistake that just ruins his chances completely. And he didn't do that last time around. And I thought it was very promising run. It was just a shame that Stephen Mulqueen lost his stirrup at the 4th last, I think it was, because he was travelling really well. And I'm not sure he would have beaten Capodanno because he looked really good that day. But I think he would have been 2nd or 3rd and much closer than he was in the end. So hopefully he can improve on that and build on it and run a big race again here. He hasn't won a Grade 1 in open company yet, so I'd really love to see him do it because he has plenty of doubters, but I have a lot of belief in this horse, and if he puts everything together and on a going day, he can win a race like this. So I'm going to be with Senor.
Yeah, I agree with you from the price perspective. I think he's definitely the one to be with.
He's value as well. And if he gets a nice lead out in front, gets into a good rhythm, he could be very difficult to pass.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing with him. As long as he can not make any errors, he would have a good chance. The only thing I would be slightly concerned about is him maybe going this way round. I just remember when he ran at Kempton in the past, he seemed to hate it there. And I always thought he was better going left-handed, so that would just be a slight concern. But I think from
it is a concern, but as well, you're taking that with the price, aren't you? It's 11-2 in a 4-runner field.
I think he'll probably go off about 7-2. I think there'll be money for him on the day. I think a lot of people want to side with him, and I could see maybe L'Homme Pressé maybe drifting out. Maybe you might get. I think he could maybe go off about 11-8, 6-4 in the end. I think he'll be probably quite weak on the day. That's my feeling of the race. How about you, though, Liz? How did you see this one?
Funnily enough, I was thinking about Ahoy Senor earlier, and of course it would be good to see him back to winning ways. But I was talking to somebody the other day about him, and I said that where does his career go if he doesn't do something soon? granted, he was actually very unlucky last time out. Like Katie said, the stirrup leather broke, and you haven't really got much hope after something like that, have you? But it'd be good. It would be great to see him win. But against Long Press, I can't see it, to be honest. I think Long Press last month at Lingfield was a joy to watch. We need to probably forget his unseat at Kempton in December. He is very short and not one that I'd maybe look to take a bet on. But I will enjoy Long Press win, and I think that is what is going to happen. But if Ahoy Senor turns up and wins, then I'd be delighted to see that as well.
Yeah, they definitely had a good little rivalry in their novice days. Obviously, Long Press, they came out on top of Cheltenham, and then Ahoy Senor got his revenge at his beloved Aintree. So yeah, it'd be great to see him.
If it was off the ground, I would be less likely to take Long Press on. But I think with the ground the way it is going to be, it just makes me think that Ahoy Senor could run a big race.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I do think he'll go close, but yeah, probably Pick Dory will win now because we didn't mention him. So yeah, just covering all the market principles there. So yeah, Pick Dory probably will win the Betfair Ascot Chase. Anyway, we're going to go on to Haydock now for the 240 for the Virgin Bet Rendlesham Hurdle. So grade 2 over 3 miles. Botox is your 9-4 favourite. We then got Butch next in at 5-2, Red Risk at 7-2, Sounds Russian a horse I've got a lot of time for 11-2, Wakul 20-1, and Martha Bray the outsider 25-1. Liz, I'll come to you here first. I thought this was really hard to work out, but in the end, I think I just sided with Botox because I just think he's got the best form, and even the likes of Butch has got a load of ones next to his name. He's got to improve a bit to take this. What do you think on this one?
Exactly the same. And I thought of you actually when I saw Sounds Russian was declared, obviously back on his seasonal debut, and it's weirdly over hurdles. He's been chasing since 2021. And this will be his first hurdle race since his maiden hurdle effort in October 2021. So I've not seen since being sorry. I was just going to say, not been seen since it's being brought down by Ahoy Senor, funnily enough, that we were just talking about in the Gold Cup in March. So it's an odd one that maybe he's just coming round for a bit of scenery. But I was going to say Botox is too short, but when you look at it, is he actually up against anything? Maybe Red Risk could turn the tables after they last met in November. With Botox just winning just by length. But it's not a race I'm perhaps completely enthralled by, to be honest, and I'm probably likely to sit it out.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm probably going to agree with you there. How about you, Katie? I know there is one in here that you do like.
Yeah, it's my nap of the day, Botox. I love him. I just love him. And he's been up against it the last twice. He's been running against Paisley Park and Crambo and those kinds of horses, and he's not quite up to that level. And I don't really think that Cheltenham is his track either. When he was running in the Cleve Hurdle, I think he ran well for a long way. He made a mistake, I think third last or fourth last, and lost a little bit of momentum, but he did get back into a rhythm. He was just outclassed in the finish, but I think this is much calmer waters. And back at Haydock is a massive plus as well, and softer ground I think will really suit him. He's a course and distance winner, and I just think he's going to take all of the beating. So he's my nap of the day, and I really hope he returns to winning ways.
Yeah, I hope he does for you. He's one of those horses that I can just never get right. Like, I remember when he was a juvenile herder, and I was getting him right then, but then afterwards I just lost the plot with him. Every time I put him up, he would always get stuffed, and then when I didn't fancy him, he'd often come and win. I just think he's probably one of the most hardest horses to predict in training. I really do. I just think he's one of those horses that we know he's capable of running really well, but he does throw in the odd stinker, and I mean a proper stinker when you think he does.
Yeah, but if you look at the form, like you're talking about last season, a lot of it was at Cheltenham. where he was beaten. He won at Haydock. He's won at Wetherby. Then I just think Haydock really suits him. And at Cheltenham, I'd be a little bit cautious about and doubtful about him, but I think at Haydock he will love it, and he'll love this ground too.
Yeah, but going back to your point on Cheltenham there, that it's something that I remember seeing him when he won as a juvenile at Cheltenham, and then even then, like, he still ran really well. He won again at Cheltenham. He's placed in handicaps there in the past, so it's a track that he had good format in the past. I just think as he's got older, I think he's not necessarily been that easy to work out. But as you say, he's got everything in his favour here, and you would be disappointed if he didn't take this. But yeah, he's just always like, I can never get right. So maybe I should just swerve him and tip something else. So
I'll leave him on Saturday so he can win, please.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll go for Butch. You know, he's got one next to his name. Looks like he's got a good chance. But anyway, we'll move on from the Rendlesham. We're now going to go on to Haydock's feature race on the card, which is the Virgin Bet Grand National Trial Handicap Chase. Iron Bridge is your favourite, 11-2. We've then got Famous Bridge at 6-1 in the same colours. My Silver Lining is also 6-1. Credo 7s. I Will Do It 7s. Snipe 8-1 along with Yeah Man, and Bigger Are the Rest. Katie, again, this is a bit of a tricky puzzle to solve. Iron Bridge is a horse I kind of want to be taken on. I'm just not convinced about him. I think he's got more of a reputation. He's got more of a bigger reputation than what he's actually shown so far. What do you think of his chances?
Well, it's nice to see the Trevor Hemmings colours at the top of the market here with the two of them, Iron Bridge and Famous Bridge. Trevor Hemmings to me is just all of my Grand National memories growing up. Like Hedge Hunter is my first ever memory of racing, and then Many Clouds and Bala Briggs, of course. But I think both of them have a good chance in here, Iron Bridge and Famous Bridge. But I've just sided with Famous Bridge because I thought that the tenacity that he showed when he beat Burrows Diamond to win the Tommy Whittle here, it looked unlikely at one stage, at a couple of stages in the race actually, but especially late on, he had a few lengths to make up on Burrows Diamond, and then once he got past him, Burrows Diamond kind of renewed his effort and got back to his girth. But it was then as if Famous Bridge just found a second wind and a burst of speed to get away from him, and that was on heavy ground. I think the step up in trip here, a marathon trip, heavy ground, it's going to be really testing, and I think it's just going to suit Famous Bridge. I think he has that bit of determination in him that can see him get the win. And also Nicky Richards is 2 from 3 at Haydock this season as well, so I'd be hoping that his good form can continue, and I'm definitely siding with Famous Bridge. I think he's got a very good chance.
Fair enough. Famous Bridge it is for Katie. How about you, Liz?
So we've got Iron Bridge, Famous Bridge, all the bridges turning up. Obviously, when I say all the bridges, just 2. But there's 11 runners, so I think you can have a look at the each way market for quite a few of these. But I will look to back Gavin Cromwell's Yeah Man, because I backed him last time in December where he flew home and he couldn't quite get there against Victorino. But that was over 3 miles, so a step up in trip could be what he's after. That being said, he seemed to show little interest in running. If you see him in that race, he's out the back somewhere, just minding his own business and without a care in the world. The furthest he's been is over 3 mile 2, and he finished second. So, yeah, I think the step up in trip would be appreciated. Ground will suit. He's got first-time cheap pieces. The last time I checked, he was 9s. So, yeah, Man on the each way.
Yeah, he's just been cooked in a point. He's 8-1 on my screen here. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he gets on. I'm just going to go for I Will Do It. I know I was crabbing Iron Bridge a little bit, and he did beat I Will Do It at Chepstow. But I just think Sam Thomas's horses are a little bit better form now, and he's definitely going to stay. He's a Welsh national winner. He's a classic handicap chase winner. He's around about the 7-1 mark. Dylan Johnston, who rode him that day in the Welsh Nationals, but again, I've been quite impressed with him, actually. I've watched him a few times over the last few weeks, and I remember he had a really good day at Leicester, I think, for Ollie Murphy. So I do think he's a conditional jockey you want to keep on side, and he's going to love heavy ground. He's going to stay all day. It would obviously be a tough task for him to carry such a big weight, but I just have question marks over some of the others. And I think with Dylan Johnson coming back for the ride, I think that says a lot. So for me, at 7-1, he might not be good enough to win, but I could definitely see him being in the first three, and I wouldn't put you off if you wanted to back him each way. So I'm going to go with I Will Do It. We're now going to go on to the feature race at Wincanton, which is a 2:05. For the Jennings bet, Kingwell Hurdle, so grade 2, and Colonel Mustard is vying for favouritism with Rubo at 5-2 at the top of the market. We then got the Nemean Lion at 7-2, Goshen 7-1, along with Guide Your Dreams. They are the outsider of the field. Liz, I'll come to you here first. Again, it's quite a trappy little race. You can make cases for all of them on some of their best form, and it's just up by the outsiders being 7-1. Did you like anything in here?
Yeah, so I was laughing at Goshen's they've decided to stick a pair of blinkers on Goshen, and I just don't know what effect that's going to have, because he's just a horse that makes me laugh for a lot of the wrong reasons. But he is a character, and that's why we love racing. And no one's ever going to forget that Triumph Hurdle in a while, or ever. But I think Rubord, fourth in the Unibet Hurdle behind Lossiemouth, Love Envoy, however you want to say it, First Street, and obviously he came second behind Constitution Hill in December. I think he's just come up against some really good horses, and he's won at Wincanton before, and maybe I think this is his time.
Okay, that's Liz's thoughts on the Kingwell. How about you, Katie?
I'd be between Colonel Mustard and Guard Your Dreams, and I'd just side with Guard Your Dreams, who is a grade 2 winner. He beat Song for Someone in the International Hurdle a few seasons ago. I think his return to action last time out was pleasing enough. In the Unibet Hurdle behind Lossiemouth, I think the four of them in behind, they kind of finished close enough to each other. Was beaten around 3 lengths by Love Envoy in the end. Wasn't too far behind Rubod, a length and a half. I think he'll come on plenty for that run, and he'll cope with softer ground as well. I think he's being overlooked. He's 7-1, I'm seeing. He received £6 from Goshen, and Rubod receives £3 from Nemean Lion. I'd be quite happy to take that 7-1 about him and hope that he can build on his reappearance and run a big race.
Okay, Katie's going to go then for Guide Your Dreams. I quite like Nemean Lion. Obviously, he needs to probably improve again to take this, but he's a horse that's been going in the right direction. He won the Welsh Champion Hurdle. He finished 5th in the Great Wood off a big weight. That form's worked out really well with the likes of Arabico Lords and Gino, Lucia, all in there. So a lot of it's pretty good form. He didn't run too badly over 2.5 miles last time out in the Lanzarote. He's back down in trip. I just think there could be a bit of a pace battle in here. The likes of Rubo, Goshen could just set it up for a closer, and it might just turn into a test of stamina over the trip. And I could see Nemean Lion come in there quite strongly and maybe picking up the pieces. So for me, that's the way I was seeing it. But again, you could probably make cases for all of them on their best form. So a bit of a tricky race to solve there at Wincanton. But that's all we got time for this week on the podcast. Thanks again to Katie and Liz for giving up their time. Hopefully we've found you some winners this weekend. You can subscribe to us here on our YouTube channel at In the Saddle Pod. You can follow us on all the major podcast platforms as well, Spotify, Soundcloud, Apple, if that is your way of listening to us. Follow us on social media as well. We're on Twitter and Instagram. Please remember to gamble responsibly, and we'll be seeing you again soon.